The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
They have called us freaks, but we've built a place where we can live in peace.
And hello and surprise everyone and happy Halloween! It's another fun-filled episode of Scarefest Television. The original broadcast date is October 23rd, 2020. My super special Halloween guest tonight is the lovely and talented Nicholas Vincent. Hello, Nicholas.
What's up, Scary Pups?
Tell me the truth. Is this the first time that you've ever logged on to do an interview that you were genuinely surprised?
Yeah. I think it's the first time I've logged on, and I'm sober also. So.
Well, that makes it. Best thing about Clown Hands, I love doing this now. There's something. Although, now I gotta tell the ladies out there, you've gotten brand new respect from me, because I've been wearing this lipstick for like 2 hours now, and I have this shit everywhere. It is on my fingers, it's on cigarettes, it's just everywhere. It's just ugly, 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 ugly.
Yeah, that gets interesting with a white wig. That's why you have to use lime crime. There's my shout out for the evening.
And I was telling Nicholas before the show, I also underestimated the amount of green that was in the wig. But we're gonna bully through this. We're gonna get through this. And FYI, Mr. Kindred, in the chat room, this is still in a Hawaiian print shirt. It's just more of a tiki type design, but it is still one of my ugly loud shirts that I look in retrospect, I should have actually wore green and just had the whole floating head thing, but I was saving that for next week. So that's first off, I want to tell you, I watched Clown Motel this week that you worked on. I got to see you in that final scene. I did see where you ran across the parking lot or whatever the hell you were doing. Yeah. And I will say that it's a movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a good bad movie.
If they tried a little harder to be actually funny, I think they could have pulled it off. But it so close. And then I loved all the people in it, and of course I was a little disappointed though. They top end loaded it and bottom end loaded it with clowns, and then through the middle, clown here and a clown there. And although now and I don't think Ari Lehman got nearly enough screen time, just to throw that out there.
Oh, Ari.
Well, now the first question to you, and this is kind of my standard question to ask everybody who is going absolutely freaking nuts through all this, is how has lockdown treated Mr. Vincent?
As an introvert, lockdown's been very good to me. It's been an excuse that I don't have to go anywhere. I haven't drank since February because, there's no people, no need to drink, no need to curb that social anxiety. So my liver has started to heal.
Oh, yeah. You probably lost weight, and God, I hate this thing. I was telling you before the show, I can understand that concept, but there are just so many things that I'm finding that I don't even like doing. Like, I don't go out to bars that much. I enjoy going out once in a great while, but I don't go out that much. I'm not a hugger. I haven't been a hugger since I was in high school. Oh God, I want to hug people so bad. Everybody that I meet, the mailman, the guy at the feed store, you know, and so I am suffering from the lack of social contact, even on a very, very light scale.
But you're such an extrovert, though, totally, aren't you?
I'm a show-off. There's a difference. You put me in a crowd of my peers, and until I've had a couple of cocktails, I'm just another face in the crowd. In other words, it's not enough for me to be. I have to be the center of attention, or it's just not even worth my while, I guess is the way to put it.
I command attention. I have no idea what to do with. That's the difference between you and me. No, I don't know what to do.
Now, I wanted to talk to you another thing, because this is something you mentioned before the show. This is actually, timing-wise, of course, I guess now your day job as an accountant, I guess that, you probably work from home. You were working from home before it was the hot, hip thing to do, probably.
Yeah, I've been working from home since 2017. So
yeah, so this and being grounded in high school, you were set for all this.
Exactly.
But you did mention that it gave you more time to work on your comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in early 2019, I learned at age 45 that I had a skill, which is being able to draw and paint digitally. So it's pretty exciting learning a new skill at this age, And so I started working on my comic book. I'm on the second issue now. It's definitely a very time-consuming, tedious process, but I'm just about to publish the second issue, and I'm really excited about it.
Now, I've heard a little bit about the comic book, not familiar with it. So now, what is the target audience of the comic book? Tell us a little bit about it.
What is the target audience? I never think about target audiences. I guess
well, there's a big difference in a comic book designed for 6-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 35-year-olds. So let's
definitely an adult comic book. Definitely geared toward 18 plus, and for outsiders. I guess that's my demographic.
Yeah, that's something we talk about every show. That you've done with me is this clown thing. See, now to me, I do the clown to show off. And I'll tell everybody about this character that I'm coming up with a little bit later. But I actually do shit like this because I want people to look at me. What is the psychology behind what you do? Because, dude, you scare the fuck out of people.
Well, I think that being looked at is, I think that's a motive too. But I think for me, it's like I grew up and being in the closet and gay and feeling so ostracized by religion. I think I want to show people the absolute scariest fucking side of me, and then have them win them over, not just by appearance alone. So I really want to challenge that their commitment to me is not just skin deep, I guess. Somebody, I don't even remember who I was. Oh, I think it was at the Mystical Market last week. We were talking about you coming on as a guest. And when I do these characters, I do a character for each one of them. In other words, it's not just the makeup. I'm not using the Whispers, the clown voice right now. But unless I've just missed it, every time I've seen you, knowing who you are, I've never really seen you do character. In other words, outwardly, yes, but when I walk up to talk to you, you're not doing. You're you. You're still just you, only in ugly clown makeup. Yeah, I'm too lazy to do characters. I think that I think that's the kind of the power of being in this makeup, is that you speak in a normal voice and I act like myself, and it creates that contradiction. That's, I think, what draws people to the character. I can see that.
Now, of course, some of the people you hang out with are a little more unapproachable, if you will. But what I think we've probably talked about this before, but this is, you even do a seminar on this. But what was your impetus to adopt this caricature?
Well, I guess, like I said, with going in a very Christian upbringing, I think I wanted to, I guess there was the rebellion aspect, and I went through, my whole goth punk rock phase and started working haunted houses, and I wanted a very definitive, character. Like, you could be kind of a vampy, whatever, but with a clown, people knew exactly what you were. So that was kind of my motive in choosing a clown, and it got such a reaction and it became such a part of me. I've been doing it since, I guess I've been doing clowns since 2000.
20 years as a clown. Now, I need to go back and actually look at pictures. But now, from the time you started, how much has the makeup evolved? I mean, did you start out as more of a, typical clown type character, or did you go up from the goth into this dark mode with really stylized makeup?
It's realistically been dark. My skill level has improved, just in repetitive. It speaks to my skill. I think if it's gotten more refined, it also probably speaks to my lack of replicating the same makeup over and over. It's different. I just kind of paint where the vodka tells me.
See, now that was another thing. Of course, now since high school theater, the first makeup I did was last weekend to do my tomb attendant character, which is basically skull face, white makeup, black eyes. I looked like shit. Now, realizing I probably don't have the tools that you do, but I mean, I had no skill level at all. And just like even tonight, just painting my mouth, I decided not to go full white face because mainly I didn't want to wash it off before I went to bed. But even just painting the red, it was a chore. Of course, now I am also fighting. Of course, you do too. Now, what do you use? The black that goes under your lip. You've got some facial hair there.
Yeah. It's all about the makeup brand you use. Just using like Kmart quality or Walmart stuff is just not going to cut it. You need Miron. I use Miron cream makeup as my base, and then I use a powder like dry powders that you apply liquid to, and I use. I swear by Lime Crime, the lipstick, because it's like a smudge-proof lipstick. You would love it.
I'm sure it would, and I will. This will evolve if I ever get out of the damn house, because that's my problem. Is this entire lineup of this menagerie that I've had planned was planned for events coming up, and right now the Central Kentucky Mystical Market is the only outlet I have for this. Because shit just keeps getting canceled. I'm worried about spring events now that were canceled, that were scheduled from last year. And so I just, I'm not afraid to be around people because I think we're proving that we can do this safely. I'm not saying everybody does, but I think they can be done safely. But at the same time, between the liability and the occasional asshole, I don't know when we're actually going to be getting back to, and I'm not going to use the word new normal, but I am wondering when we'll be able to get back to a semblance of activity. I'm not even going for normal at this point. I'm just wondering when we're allowed to go outside without our neighbors calling the cops on us.
I know. See, now you know what it feels like.
Touche. Let's go ahead. We're going to take our first commercial break, everybody, and we'll be back with more Nicholas Vincent and Whispers the Clown.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, They will do their best to assist you. Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. If I look a little tired, it's because I am. Let's talk a little history. So some of you don't know who this person is I'm about to talk to, which actually makes me kind of sad. And he's still alive, and he's in his 90s. This is my original debut, some people call it. Some people call it a theater insert, depending on where you're in the United States or Europe. But this is my original House of Usher, signed by to Joe Roger Corman. I got to meet Roger Corman several years ago with James Thomas, my dear friend. What was odd about it was that we were at a film festival and there was another guy there. I won't say who he is, but he played Michael Myers in a Halloween movie directed by Rob Zombie, 2 of them. And his line is out the door. But he's not Roger Corman. He was right next to Roger Corman, and we thought, oh, we'll have to wait in line forever to meet Roger. Well, we didn't, and it was kind of sad. It was fantastic that I finally got to meet Roger Corman. And I thought, how many more days do I have? Well, it was 10 years ago, and he's still kicking, and that's great. He's still making movies. In the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, actually starting with 1960, he made a lot of Edgar Allan Poe films that had very little to do with Edgar Allan Poe and had a lot to do with Vincent Price. Some of them, like The Tomb of Lygia, is one of Martin Scorsese's favorite. I'm not going to talk about that. Some of them, like The Comedy of Terrors, hilarious. The Raven is a lot of fun. But I'm not going to talk about that one either, because The Raven, they had to make a plot up for it. I want to talk about my 2 favorites. One, the first one, being House of Usher, based on Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. It's written by Richard Matheson. Now, Richard Matheson wrote a lot of Twilight Zone episodes. In fact, my 2 favorite, upon entering his fiance's family mansion, a man discovers a savage family curse and fears that his future brother-in-law has attuned his bride-to-be prematurely. These movies were fantastic. They're like gothic horror. There's a lot of set pieces, a lot of overacting. But Vincent Price is amazing, because if you've never seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice for not watching these. He made all these movies for AIP. That's American International Pictures. A guy named Samuel Z. Arkoff. My second favorite actually sometimes is my favorite, depending. You know what? Screw it. These are my 2 favorites. I don't know which one's better. If you actually look them up on IMDb, they're both listed right at 7.0. Is The Mask of the Red Death. Now, The Mask of the Red Death, a European prince, terrorizes a local, I'm going to read this straight from IMDb, terrorizes a local peasantry while using his castle as a refuge against the Red Death plague that stalks the land. Now, that's a little apropos right now, considering we're in the middle of COVID, but it's a metaphor for so many different things. But it's also a dark comedy, and it was written by a guy named Charles Beaumont. If you like The Twilight Zone, I guarantee one of your favorite Twilight Zone episodes was written by at least these 3 men, either Rod Serling, Richard Matheson, or Charles Beaumont, that they wrote my 2 favorite AIP Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe films. Vincent Price plays the bad guy, and he's a devil worshiper in this one. He talks about how much he loves the devil. It's just a fun movie, and it's garish colors. It's beautiful with the death and all the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I can't recommend The Mask of the Red Death enough. I love this movie. Okay, I may like it a little bit more than The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know. If you have a Shudder account, I think they're both on Shudder. I actually own them. And like I said, I own the poster, the original one from 60. Oh my God, this poster, by the way, is 60 years old. Imagine that. Signed by the 94-year-old director. I actually can't remember where he's at in his 90s. I highly recommend House of Usher, Mask of Red Death. Then go into The Raven. It's hilarious. Comedy of Terrors, Tomb of Lygia. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. Maybe I'll see some of you all drunk Saturday night. Topless? Maybe Wes? Wes topless.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. My guest tonight is Nicholas Vincent, and I want to point out, I'm already learning things. When I go to drink, I have to do this number. Because I'm not smart enough to stick a straw in the damn cup like the more experienced clowns that we have on the show. Now back to the comic book. Now what's the comic book about?
The comic book is about Circus Envy's origin. I know you've read my story that I published with in the Scarefest journals, and it is the first issue based on that, but with some modifications to it. So you get a little bit more inside the club that he works at and that type of thing, and then it just spirals out of control past that.
I can see that part. Yeah, the blood types. The Scarefest Literary Journal, which we've said for 3 years now that we're going to do again, and we've never gotten past the part where we say that we're going to do it again. Now, oh, by the way, happy birthday, Scott Wazalewski. Happy birthday, Scott Wazalewski, one of our biggest fans, one of our most loyal supporters, and a big fan of Scarefest. Now, back to lockdown. Okay, you're happy at home. Wonderful. What do you watch? Do you binge watch anything, or do you spend all your time being productive?
Oh no, not at all. Do I have the body of somebody that is constantly productive? You look but you look so driven. It's just like doing this show tonight. It was automatic. Oh, of course I'm gonna be in character. I'm gonna be in makeup. You know, I didn't even have to ask hardly. I'm driven looking at DoorDash, maybe. Yeah, I definitely binge watched some. I finally watched Breaking Bad, which was great. I really enjoyed that. So mark that off my list of things I wanted to see. What have I binge watched lately? I can't even think. I've been really obsessed and getting involved with a lot of spiritual gurus and stuff like that on YouTube, because I find that 2020 has been so, such an upheaval and so crazy.
Yeah.
To be on social media. So I've been doing a lot of meditation, and I feel like being a clown and being out there, it's such an imperative time, because to kind of spread the message that I've always tried to spread about humor and seeing, the opposite two sides, seeing the opposition in things, being open to laughing at yourself. It's a major time for that to be applicable, because people are way too serious.
You need to do your own YouTube show, man, because that message is not getting out this year. Yeah, there's little tunnel vision going on with a lot of people. Now, the meditation part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, YouTube, I will give you credit. YouTube is a excellent place to find meditation stuff. Now, do you do the guided meditations, or are you use the word gurus? Is that what you do? You look for the people that are walking you through it and telling you how to breathe and that kind of shit?
I do. I'm not disciplined enough to really know. I'm not a Tibetan monk levitating level at all. More guiding, meditation for dummies at this point. But Aaron Doty and Ryan Scott are two people that I listen to a lot. And,
those names mean nothing to me. I used to do a lot of meditation. As much meditation as I ever did to YouTube, I've decided that YouTube is the one thing on the internet that is still worthwhile, because there are so many things like that if you're willing to go past the TikTok brawl replays, that there's a lot of good content. Now, one of my, I got into, of all things, American, and it's probably, I should say Native American drums.
Wow.
You can't go to Walmart and buy an Native American drum CD. You cannot. But, YouTube, there is a plethora of that type stuff. And so in other words, I didn't go, the guided meditations always seem to get ahead of me. Mm-hmm. In other words, they're like, you're so relaxed. And I'm like, no, not really, no. And then they're talking me through the breathing, and I'm like, give me time. I'm a smoker. Sometimes this takes longer for me. But I And I've had several people tell me that this is the year that, in other words, they've chosen to take up meditation. Now, in your particular case, did you just say, well, have been telling me to, like me, they tell me you need to meditate more, or was that something you'd wanted to do?
No, people have been telling me to meditate for a while, and I kind of listen like, yeah, that'll happen. And I think just having the time and just the downtime and being able to just kind of have peace, you're always so pushed this way or that way, and this year has definitely given me downtime to consider that type of thing, just to even open my mind to that.
If okay, we've crossed that off list. I still don't think you're telling me how much you've really binge watched. Anytime somebody comes on the show and says, no, I've not been binge watching, I just want to call bullshit, because that is all there is to do. Now I will say one thing I did figure out very quickly: when this first went down back in March, I became a news junkie. I was going through Prime looking for all the live news channels. And I am so glad that I quit doing that, because that right there, that was my meditation. Once I quit doing that, automatically the world felt better than watching everybody lose their fucking minds.
I definitely avoid news.
What?
And being from a Christian upbringing, people were like, no, don't do meditation. You open your mind to things. Well, watching the news, you are really opening your mind to being guided. You have no idea what you're just, I think you're being so influenced and so pushed and pulled, and you really do lose touch with reality. Then coupled with, being holed up with pandemic, it feels like everybody's out to get you.
See, now I had a little discussion about that with our Clarity, our sponsor, Spirit Mechanics. They were on the show one night. We were talking about meditation. And now I can understand when Christians don't understand certain types of meditation. I mean, basically, even if you don't understand the concepts behind yoga, I can understand why you would think that is a religion. Buddhism is arguably, it's I realize it's more of a philosophy than a religion, but I can understand, objecting, at least I can understand objecting to that. But meditation to me is just really, it boils down to, it becomes a long prayer.
Absolutely.
It might differ in who you're praying to, but it's really, I don't see the difference.
I think that Christianity is so, sold on specific personification of God, and a very elitist kind of, I grew up in Southern Baptist, so it was very, very pigeonholed, very specific about what was good, what was bad, and there was no looking outside the lines. And I've always been someone who challenged that, and I always looked outside the lines. But what about over here? Which later on, ironically, kind of aligned with as I learned more about clowns and their roles in Native American culture and primitive tribes. That's what clowns do. They poke holes and stuff. They call out contradictions. So as it seems to be my spirit path.
Fair enough. Now, see, I was lucky. The theology that I grew up with was kind of middle of the road as far as evangelical Christians go. One thing I've talked about all month, Halloween. Heck yeah. Let's go to the haunted house. We'll have one in the Sunday school rooms. Everybody put on your scary shit and go down in the basement. We got to dance. Now Southern Baptist, sometimes we used to have a dog we called our Baptist dog, because she would, anytime Anita would dance in the house, it would just drive that dog nuts. But so I've experienced those viewpoints, but I was lucky not to grow up in it. Perfectly blunt question here. Do you feel at this stage in your life that you have rediscovered we'll use the word God in a very general sense, or did the Christian faith that you grew up with, did it push you so far away that now you have trouble re-embracing that?
No, I think I've definitely rediscovered it. I had a very hard time embracing it for a very large portion of my life, but I've come to peace with it. And it's, you know, contradictions drive me crazy, hence not being able to watch politics in the news because there's so many out there. And, but I've come kind of to peace, you know, with a religious contradiction. I have and I haven't. I'm not cool with, you know, Southern Baptist or whatever. I don't really want to be cornered by that, but I know some people have a very limited, you know, personification or perception of what they view as God, and they're trying their best to understand it, and I get that.
Everybody, on that heavy note, and we're going to come back to this topic as soon as we get back from commercial break. We'll be right back with more Nicholas Vincent. Mama Ruby offers fun vendor-based events that focus primarily on the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of our lives. Well, 2020 didn't go as planned, to say the least. Since Mama Ruby's can't bring the vendors to you in person, they still encourage you to support them online. For links to these and other outstanding artists, craftspeople, vendors, and psychics, visit mamarubies.com and click shop.
Horror. Movie. Fans. 4. Life. Find us. 4 News. 4 Memes. 4 Life.
Following his mainstream breakthrough with the hit movie Scream, writer Kevin Williamson further revitalized the slasher genre this week, back in 1997, with his next hit, I Know What You Did Last Summer. After accidentally hitting and killing a man while driving, 4 friends make the fatal mistake to hide their crime by dumping the body in the ocean and vowing to never speak about it again. 1 year later, the group begins to get mysterious letters from someone claiming to know what they did. One by one, they are hunted and killed by a hook-wielding maniac set on seeking revenge. Although not as popular as its predecessor Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer still surprised and delighted audiences with its throwback to the slasher films of the early 80s, which garnered it 2 sequels and landed it a spot in the top 10 highest-grossing slasher films of all time. Released on the same day back in 1997 as I Know What You Did Last Summer was the sleeper hit The Devil's Advocate. Based on the book of the same name, this film follows a young, successful Florida lawyer as he moves to New York to work for a major firm. As time goes on, his wife begins to have haunting visions, causing her to slowly go insane. And he soon realizes that his mentor, the head of the firm, is not exactly what he seems, and is planning something far more evil. Although The Devil's Advocate was competing against thriller films targeted at younger audiences during the spooky season, it held its own and won over audiences, landing it in the number 2 spot behind I Know What You Did Last Summer, and won the Saturn Award for the best horror film of the year. And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. We're going to do a little of the business now. A little of the business. This week I have the audio turned on. Scarefest CyberCon. We're going to try this bitch again. Scarefest CyberCon virtual convention coming up November 21st. November 21st. Save the date. We're just now starting to put it together. We'll have more details in the upcoming week or two. But Scarefest CyberCon on November 21st will be our next virtual event. And the Central Kentucky Mystical Market is back. It is back, everybody. We had one this month. We came up with some open dates in November due to another one of our sister organizations canceling their event. So Central Kentucky Mystical Market will be back November 7th and 8th for the Thanksgiving market, because we had to throw it together so quick we could not come up with a catchy tagline for November. So it's the Thanksgiving market. Now, the good part, I will be there doing bad tarot card readings. Everybody's been asking about my bad tarot card readings. They will be at the Central Kentucky Mystical Market coming up November 7th and 8th. CentralKYMysticalMarket.com. And we're back with our guest, Nicholas Vincent. Now, we a lot of what you talk about, and we were referring to by religion, was about the acceptance. Now I know with first of all, you don't even in a good year, because you haul so much shit around. How many actual convention style events do you do a year?
Recently it's been down to two, 4 maybe at most. Sometimes it's just Scarefest and Days of the Dead. I've been limiting that more lately. I used to be all over the board for a while. I was traveling and going everywhere, but it's been more limited lately.
Now, a little psychological stuff here for you. Now, do you feel like you do the cons, you do the conventions because the conventions are so accepting of people that like to do like this, or is it the other way around? Do you do the cons to introduce them to your theme and your character? I guess is the way I would put it.
I guess it's a little bit of both. I mean, certainly I think I've been pulled to the horror genre. When you haunted houses and horror cons, it's very odd because you meet some of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. They're some of the most generous and kind people. And I think it's because they're not, suppressing their shadows so much, in psychological terms, whereas you can meet church people that are very repressed and very, shadow repressed, and they can be some of the most evil people ever. So that has always been appealing to me, horror cons, because of the acceptance. But I also like to, the message to be out there to shatter rigid preconception. And the more I've become, I guess, self-aware in this character and done studies on Native American clowning, and the more this character's resonated with me, the more I kind of, I do want to teach people, not like in a pushy, preachy kind of way, but I definitely feel like the crowd that I hang with challenges rigid preconception.
Tell me a little bit more about the Native American aspect. I understand. I believe the generic term is the trickster. Where does that fall into? What is the theme behind that connection?
They were valued. The Heoka, or the sacred clowns, were born into a tribe, and they were valued because they were trusted to mock every single thing. Nothing was sacred to them. And in doing this, it would allow the people to see their, very strong held beliefs through another lens, through the lens of laughter. So they would sometimes shed those beliefs, thinking, this really is ridiculous now that I see it put in this way, or it would strengthen the belief, and they would think, well, we need to keep this value in place. So it was, that was the Native American clown's role.
Something you just said, now, just for lack of a better word, triggered me. One thing I'm noticing in today's society, and this did not start this year, this has been going on for several years now. you mentioned how they would mock everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I think that's the way life should be. Nothing is sacred. Just, right, left, when it comes to politics, when it comes to gender, when it comes to, in other words, I think that we as a society are losing the ability to laugh at ourselves because we get offended when someone else laughs at us.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I agree. We're losing compassion for each other too. We don't see the other person's side or point of view. We're becoming very rigid and very ego-driven in that regard.
I agree with that, but I think my thought on it is that somewhere this got programmed into our heads, whether it was high school or whatever, bad parenting, TV, cartoons, I have no damn idea. But it seems like there is now this thought going around that if you laugh at something, you do not have any respect for that something. So in other words, if you find something humorous, you're automatically anti whatever that is, and that was not how I was brought up.
Yeah.
And I'm very careful to balance that by making fun of myself. But at the same time, I can see somebody being totally offended at the thought of me trying to be a clown on the same episode as someone like you.
I mean, I don't think when you're a clown, I don't think offended. It's all about balance, And I think clown is about embracing your humility and not being offended. It's kind of letting go of the ego, surrendering that. So I don't think that I don't consider myself in any prestige or anything. Just kind of sit on my message.
Well, to add to that, I see a lot of things. People will say things, and then someone else will get all indignant about it. But now, you're an openly gay man.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I have met that are the least offended by gay humor, whatever you want to call it, are gay people. We were in a bar one night with a Cheyenne Moonshadow, and and the topic came up about it was hard to tell jokes on the show because I had to be very careful. And he said, "Well, here, let me tell you that." And he went into these god awful things that just made me cringe because I'm not always comfortable. I'm human, but at the same time, I would die for his right to say every word that he said. We've got another quick break. We're going to take it. When we come back, we're going to talk about a little bit about being a clown and getting the message out of being a clown.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
When the drum beats, we hear the call of spirit. Join Coyote Chris Sutton and Charlotte Hardin as they discuss the different spiritual paths with those who walk them. Monthly on scarefestradio.com. Watch the Scarefest Facebook page for updates.
Emma Roberts is gearing up to suck your blood. That was an awkward place for a pause. The saucy Scream Queen is set to executive produce a new vampire series for Netflix called First Kill. The series will focus on a teen vampire whose scheme at a first kill becomes way more complicated than she planned. Sounds like things may escalate quickly.
Hi, y'all. Earl Popper here, and this is Mechanic Tips with Earl.
If your car breaks down, he'll give it a whirl. It's Mechanics Tips with Earl. Wow.
You look for a little extra horsepower for your engine, take some of your favorite energy drink here and put it in there. You put it in that gas tank. Boy, I rev it right up. All right, then. Hi, this is Earl again. Got another tip for you. You driving down the interstate, need a little extra speed, throw that sucker in R for racing. Got another tip for you. On them long trips, when you get back, make sure you take that radiator cap off. Want that engine overheat on you. Hey y'all, it's Earl again. Got another tip for you. Some of you younger folks like this, these newer model cars, if you hit the gas and the brake pedal at the same time, it takes a selfie. I tell you, see y'all. Tell you, reminds me of another story. I was working on the ships, and boy, I tell you, we didn't have anything for seasoning, and boy, sure used some oil on there.
If your car breaks down, he'll give it a whirl. It's Mechanics Tips with Earl.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. It's me, Whispers of the Clown, and I'm Nicholas Vincent tonight. Now, one thing that I missed in the last segment. Okay, now you've had the year off. You normally do 2 to 4 conventions a year. But when you do conventions, you haul around a mobile home-sized set piece with you.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah, what's the status on that? Is you had redone it just like 2 years ago. Is that something that you're able to gear up for? And in other words, what's the status of Circus Envy when all this shit goes away?
Oh, the mobile home size, caravan is safely resting in my basement right now, so it's fine. It's ready to go whenever the activity resumes.
But I take it you're keeping in touch with all the ladies and everything that draw me in to sit and talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Kate is very busy these days. She has she's an artist. She has a huge following and a lot of activity in her own right. So we've seen less of her. And the twins, Athena just became a mother, and Aaliyah a year ago had her second child. So you're feeling a little bit more family time with those guys. But we'll see how things pan out. I know they miss conventions an awful lot too.
I had no idea. That that was going on.
Yeah.
If someone, let's go back to kind of where we started with your message of acceptance and message of putting yourself out there, and I guess really your message isn't so much about acceptance as creating acceptance. Is that a good way to put it?
It is, and it's about self-objectivity too. That's a big part of it. Just again, kind of letting go. The clown is letting go of your ego and embracing humility. And I think in doing that, in Native American culture, they believed before you pray, you would laugh because it would shatter rigid preconception, and then you would be free to experience, prayer in a different way. And I think I think we've definitely got to find. We've got to find our clown, somebody we trust to let us laugh at ourselves. It's be it ourselves or someone external. We've got to find that in our culture. We need humor.
And of course, coming up on the end of the interview here. Now, what do you have anything on the calendar when this actually breaks loose? I know last time I spoke to you was right after you had done, I guess, mostly the makeup for Clown Motel.
Uh-huh. I was for the sequel to that, but my mother's actually had some health issues this year, so I wasn't able to go back for the sequel. But the next thing I have, I believe, will be at Days of the Dead in February. As far as I know, there's been some preliminary talks. Of course, that was back, back this past February. But I believe we'll return to that.
So far, Days of the Dead has been troopering right through this. They've been making the adjustments, and have so far, by all accounts, they've pulled it off. Even if, some people are happy about it, some people are not. But I've not heard any widespread complaints about the way that the adjustments they've had to make to go forward. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if someone, last question of the show, if someone wants to embrace your clown theology, where should they start?
Just letting go of their ego. Do something that, try something new, something that you're afraid of. My living example of this is coming on here sober, not drinking, and trying to embrace sacred anxiety, which is like the craziest thing in the world for me, trying to be in the present. So that's what they should do is, embrace their fears and try to do something new, to see it in a different way.
And everyone, happy Halloween. Now, by the way, everyone, just to introduce you to my new character, this character is not going in public until after COVID-19. And the reason is, I dropped the name, it's Whispers the Clown. And it's basically I could not think, when I was trying to think of a clown character, I could not think of anything creepier than a clown that has to get in your personal space to talk to you. He talks like this, and he says really inappropriate things, such as, Nicholas, how many dead clowns does it take to screw in a basement light bulb?
Gee, I don't know how many.
Well, I don't know either, but I know it's not 8. That kind of stuff. And he'll tell your kids to Santa loves tattoos, that kind of thing. Just so everybody,
writing down notes and handing to people would be probably more incriminating. But
yeah, I cannot leave an evidence trail. That's the whole idea behind the clown, is I cannot leave an evidence trail. Let's see if I got it here. Oh, what's the difference between 10 dead hookers and a Ferrari?
What's that?
I don't have a Ferrari in my garage. Okay, everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. We're still planning. Don't forget, next Friday, have your ghost stories ready. We're going to have a call-in show, and you'll be able to call in. We'll give you 5 or 10 minutes to tell us your favorite ghost story from your ute as you grew up, or now, or whatever. It just can't be a ghost hunting story. No ghost hunting, ghost stories, even if it's like something your grandmother told you. And we're planning something special for that episode, but until I get it nailed down, I'm not going to announce it. But everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Mr. Nicholas Vincent, Circus Envy, for joining me tonight to celebrate Halloween.
Thanks for having me.